What's going on, Brookie Nation? We are here, ready for a momentous event.
It's the season 1 finale!
We have been waiting for this moment for a long time, but the season 1 finale is finally here. I am your boy, Mackie Mouse.
It's me, Isla.
We are so friggin' pumped because this is the moment we have been waiting for. This is the thing that we've been talking about. We made it.
We can finally quit. Yeah. We're done.
We're gonna retire early. This is how it goes.
Yeah.
For this event, I am wearing. I know it's backwards, but for our YouTube friends, since we are taping, we're actually gonna tape the whole show. On video. Part of it will be on YouTube. My camera won't focus. Oh, I have glasses on still. I have to take those off. Sorry. These are all visual gags that you'll see if you look at the YouTube video. Part of it will be on YouTube, but for the first time, we're actually going to put a video portion on Patreon, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, but we're going to do the watch party section of our show over on our Patreon. But I am wearing, for our video friends here, a Dream Finder shirt that is really a reference to Figment at Walt Disney World and Epcot. But I felt like Dream Finder was an appropriate theme for the season finale of a show very much about dreams and hope and magic. Anyway, if you're wondering what the heck we're talking about and probably wondering how you got to this vortex, this is the Storybook Circus. We are a once upon a time ABC television show podcast. We are reviewing the show one episode at a time. And if you can't tell from our excitement, this is the season 1 finale, the big kahuna. So I hope you guys are as pumped as we are. Are you excited? Are you like,
yes.
Like what is, so we always have a little pre-recording antics and songs that we do. We just randomly while we're testing microphones, and we were asking some questions during said pre-recording show. What of the questions that are remained to be answered in season 1 are you most excited to reinvestigate? Obviously, we know what the answers are going to be, but what are you most excited to watch? Because I'm pretty excited to like see it unfold. You know what I mean?
I know. Like I want to see the curse be broken.
Yeah. That's definitely a big one. We have this big question mark with Henry. The last episode we left off with Henry eating the poison apple turnover. So we don't know, dead, in a coma, in a trance, transported somewhere, no idea. We now know that Emma can't just randomly leave town. So like, what is she going to do about it? Obviously, what is Regina's reaction going to be to this? I'm sure Mr. Gold plays into this somehow as part of the, puppeteer manipulating the strings. If the curse is going to be broken too, we got to think about like what that's going to mean for Regina. We have
a lot of stakes,
a lot here. Of like reuniting of characters. It's just like there's so many questions, and like what's going to happen to the likes of people like August, like Pinocchio. Like this whole thing really started because Marco just assumed like, well, if the curse is not there or something happens or whatever, he's just going to be wood and it's just not going to work because it's a land without magic. There's like all these questions we have to answer, and now we're at the end of the chapter where we actually get to answer it. So we are very excited. There are going to be a lot of format changes during this particular episode, as it is a special episode since it is the season finale. So we're going to mix things up a little bit, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But one thing that is not going to change is our discussion of the Storybook Daily Mirror. The Storybook Daily Mirror is our segment dedicated to you, the listener, where we talk about what's going on in the Brookie community and the other ways that you can submit to the fictional newspaper of our land. So Isla, why don't you, as always, tell the people how it is that they contribute to the Storybook Daily Mirror?
We need you to participate in the Storybook Daily Mirror. Otherwise, we have nothing. So we beg. So here I am asking. So we are recording this episode, full disclosure, early this week because half of us are going on a really fun vacation. with their
It's me. I'm
significant
half of
other.
us.
Very happy for them. But we did not want to delay the season finale, of course, as us, we were really excited about it. And you, the Brookies, are, I'm hoping, really also excited about
We
it.
knew that would have been so messed up to just leave everybody hanging right on the season finale. Like,
Right.
what TV show would do that to you and you'd ever watch their show again? Like, that's just so
Okay,
mean.
Grey's Anatomy does it all the time. If we're gonna
Really?
be completely honest. Yes.
Before the finale?
Yeah, it's rough.
Oh my God. I couldn't deal with that.
We don't have a lot going on in the Daily Mirror today, but I still want you to know how to participate for all the future because we are coming back for season 2.
Hey,
Surprise!
we've been picked up for season 2.
Yeah.
The network likes us.
Our contract with each other has renewed.
That's right.
Apple Podcast, first of all, let's talk about it for my little iPhone friends. On Apple Podcasts, it leaves you the chance to give us a review. If you leave us a 5-star review and write some nice words, we're going to read it on the air and thank you personally for everything that you have to say.
Dang right.
We're getting up there. It's really exciting to go on Apple Podcasts and just see that like somebody wrote something nice about you. It's fun. I don't know.
Yeah,
and
no, it is.
I don't get notified. I don't know if you get a notification.
I do not.
You just like stumble upon it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like a fun, happy surprise. We also have an Instagram. You can send us a DM, the SBC pod. We're finally being a little bit more active on there. So if you head on over, you can chat with us. We have a Discord.
Sure do.
Participate in our Discord.
Party of
We
the
have
year.
had some lengthy, in-depth conversations recently, especially with the last episode about what's been going on in Storybrooke. And if it's not just Storybrooke related, we talk about a bunch of other things. There's a West Wing chat.
Yep.
We have selfies.
Yep.
I love
Pets.
those.
Food, I
General
think.
random stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a nice group of friends to hang out and talk with when you're feeling like it.
It's
We
like,
also have a phone number.
Oh, yeah, the phone number. Hold on. This is my job. I got to. Okay. 207-536-8512 is our phone number. What can we do with that phone number, Isla?
It's going to connect you to a voicemail. If you give it a call, leave a voicemail. We're going to play it on the air and talk about it. Ask
Heck
us
yeah.
a question. Send us a comment, a concern. That phone number also is able to accept text messages. So you can send us a text and we will, again, read it on the air.
Yes,
and
we
talk
will.
about it.
What else? Our email. Did we talk
Oh,
about
yeah,
that
we have an
already?
email. thesbcpod@gmail.com. All of this will be in the show notes.
Yeah. Yes, it will. As it always is.
All of it you can
Every
find on
episode.
our link tree on Instagram, the SBC Pod.
If you know how to
It's
get
all
to
there
link tree
for you.
stuff. Yeah, we make it nice and easy. And we want to shout out. People are using the emails. So they are, every once in a while writing in if they feel like they want to write in something longer. Although we have had people, like we did last week, write email length long correspondence to us through text messages, and we are perfectly fine since we are millennials and know how to read text messages, and it's perfectly
Yep.
fine. So if you want to write a long thing instead of email, you just want to do that through a bunch of texts the way that you would do with your friends, please do, and it works perfectly fine, as you saw evidence of last week. So yeah, those are the ways that you can contact us. So because we're taping this early, as Isla said, we didn't give as much time as we normally do between recordings so that people can submit stuff. So first of all, if you're listening to this on Friday and you want to submit something in reaction to this, and we're going to even continue to encourage people in the Discord after we record this before it airs to still submit things. And we're going to talk about them at the beginning of our season 2 premiere and pick up any of this, because I know people are going to have stuff to talk about this episode.
Yeah,
if
this
they're not
isn't just
already.
like the season 1 finale. We'll never talk about season 1 again.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to go back to it quite a bit. But just because people didn't submit things does not mean that the Brookie community was not active. As we continue to say all the time, the Discord is popping all the time, and we don't necessarily talk about what's going on in it. But since we don't have a lot going on for the Storybook Daily Mirror in terms of direct contributions, submissions, yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in the Discord. Because, and I think we've done this a couple times in the air, like a lively conversation started up about the last episode about Emma and about,
Heatherly asked the greatest question
Oh my God.
that I think we've gotten to date.
wasn't even the only one. I wasn't Heatherly the one who did the costumes too. Which costume you would want? I'm pretty sure she did.
Yes.
Yeah, so good. Please continue to be our prompter, our conversation prompter, because
so if you missed last week's episode, if you haven't caught up on that one yet, and you were just really excited for the finale, so you're here.
You jumped here.
I would probably do the same. But Heatherly asked, when would you start believing in magic if you were in Emma's shoes? And as we know from last week's episode, we got into it. The Discord also felt strongly and also got into it.
Yeah, there's and there are things that we haven't talked about previously on this because they were slightly smaller conversations, but we'll just talk about this one for now. And I think we're going to maybe use some more of these conversations in the Storybook Daily Mirror going forward, because the thing about this as opposed to a direct submission is only one voice, whereas this is a conversation between like 3 people. So there are multiple perspectives and points of view and back and forth. And I think that exchange is just as interesting to hear as a single person's perspective. So I'm not even going to say who's talking because it will be irrelevant, but just I'll kind of say when it's a different person who's talking. But this is how it started. It says, even if you weren't convinced that something funny was going on in Storybook, she's referring to here that Emma continuing to be skeptical. Why wouldn't an Apple product from the woman who is imagined to be the evil queen, who is suspected of framing the woman imagined to be Snow White, make you go, no, thank you? So Isla and I had this conversation at the last episode where we're like, even if you're like, I don't believe in magic, and Henry's like just really feels really strongly about her being the evil queen, just the fact that it's like of all of the fruits, of all of the gestures, that it would be Apple. And I actually have a memory, and we're gonna experience this later because we're gonna watch a little piece of media before we get into the watch party. This is not the first time that Regina has offered apple substances to Emma, because she offered in the very beginning, she offered her like the best apple cider she's ever tasted or something like that. So like we've already kind of been down this road before. So why wouldn't that at least raise your eyebrow and and make you kind of chuckle a little bit, or at least be suspicious, especially of a woman who is already so violent and manipulative? Anyway, the comment continues. Also, what are the parameters of Emma's belief boundaries? She can readily and easily believe that the mayor of this town would frame the sweet grade school teacher, going so far as to somehow copy a human heart, even genetically. And Emma's like, yeah, weird, no magic. Her yummy apple turnover, though. Thanks.
Right.
Like,
I agree.
So that is a good point. The response here. This is the part where the TV show suspension of disbelief starts to come in. This gets more into the entertainment of it as opposed to hyperrealism. At least that's how it's affecting me when I watch. I like the reference. I like the nuance. It's not realistic, but at this point in the story, I want to lean more towards the fairy tale world already, finally. I'm ready for things to start leaning towards the impossible now, I think. So someone else jumped in and said, yes, I think at this point, the explanation is that the story needs for these things to happen. We could pick apart any TV show to a surgical degree, but that can lessen our experience of something great, especially something as fantasy driven as Once Upon a Time, which very poignant point there, that there is a point, I think, when we watch entertainment and television where they tell us, they instruct us to imagine the impossible, in the very beginning of classic example of like Harry Potter. Hey, wizards are real. Go with it. And you're just like, okay, I got it. Like the first scene is like a cat turns into a witch and Hagrid flies in from the sky and Dumbledore like clicks a pen and all the lights go in. So they are telling you, hey, some stuff outside of reality could happen. If you were 3/4 of the way through the movie Atonement and somebody did some magic shit like that, you'd be like, wait, that's not, you know what I mean? There are rules to like how that works. Like you have to establish what the rules of the world that you're in are. In the world of Twilight, vampires exist. They explain why you're supposed to believe that in this normal town where people don't think so. And then you kind of go, okay, this is the baseline. Then you go on with that. The suspension of disbelief of a character, however, as opposed to the rules and structure of a TV show, gets a little bit hairier because characters are human beings with emotional range and they are allowed to change their mind because that's part of the human experience. You can change your concept of what you think you can believe in, particularly when there's supernatural events happening. You can have a skeptic turn into a believer, or a believer justify away that what we thought was magic was really a parlor trick. Like, you can do those kinds of changes to the rules. So this whole thing where, like, Emma, we talked about this with Hat Trick, where Emma's like, oh, she could believe Jefferson, but really he's a kidnapper. So she's going back and forth, but she tells Mary Margaret she has her walls up. Like, she's bouncing back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
This is the part of the show where the structure of a television show as opposed to a movie starts to really show its face, because you don't have the time and detail to be able to dig in to the journey of why they go from one to the other, or why it's okay here but not here. You don't have time in a TV show to do that. And you're probably thinking, what do you mean? A movie is 2 hours and a season is like 8 or 9 hours. Yes, but in that 8 or 9 hours, they're trying to tell 12 stories, and in a movie, they're trying to tell 3. That's the difference, is they're only hyper focusing on one common plot. Whereas with TV shows, they're showing behind the scenes what's happening parallel in time. They're showing flashbacks. They're showing B stories. There's a lot of like other things that when you get close to the season finale, you got to tie all that stuff up. So you don't have time to get into the emotional journey of Emma and why she's blah, 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 because you got to fit in all this other crap before the end of the season and beginning of the next season. So this is the point where like this reason of the story need these things to happen. That's kind of what they mean, is we have to just move along at some point. So like, we got to take our time with the detective work, and like, look at how long they took with the story from Mary Margaret. Like this, you know, she goes missing, the suspicion, who could it be? Then the murder, and then the trial was like several episodes, right? Where that would kind of be a handful of scenes in a movie. They really drew that out. Well, now we got to just get going, because ultimately we're getting towards the will we or won't we break the curse. And so all that other stuff is noise, like, you know what I mean? So like, whether Emma does or doesn't believe this specific thing versus this, like, they need Henry to eat the apple turnover so that everybody is trying to save Henry at the top of the last episode. Doesn't matter why Emma does it or why Henry does it or who believes what. They just need to get there. And that's a part of what makes a TV writer's skill so specialized, as opposed to someone who's writing a script for a movie. They have to do these things within a couple of weeks of when they're shooting and airing. And they have to be real good at getting from point A to point B without you losing interest. So
yeah,
hats off to our television writers of all kinds. TV writers have a really hard job, and they don't get enough credit for the friggin' amazing magic that they pull off, essentially.
Literally.
Forgive the pun, but they really do pull off miracles, getting you to follow along these stories, and that's kind of impressive. We have a couple more comments on Discord. Going beyond that, I always thought that part of Emma's difficulty believing Henry and in the possibility of magic was because of her tough upbringing. This is why I really like hearing people's responses, because they always bring like a different thing to the table as to the why. Everybody's got a different reason, right? So the comment continues like this: it must be harder to believe in a fantasy world full of magic when in her reality, she believes her parents abandoned her, and we know she had to make the decision to put up a child for adoption. So we briefly talked about that last week, right? I love that she's got all these traumatic things that happened to her and whatever, and that might be skewing her viewpoint. It says, even her eventual line of work as a bail bonds person, she doesn't see the best of humanity. She's very rooted in the real world with very real world problems and trauma. Interesting point. The next comment is, trauma and needing to shield oneself because you didn't have parents to make you feel protected at an early age would also be a huge factor in taking such a huge leap. There were no parents making Santa seem real or encouraging her to look at any possibility. I also don't think she's trying to be a jerk. She isn't malicious or vicious. She just doesn't believe, which is true. That is a good point. She's not trying to, she is calling people crazy, and I think that's just the writers trying to personify her disbelief in words, and they just put the word crazy in her mouth. That's true. But she's not trying to hurt someone's feelings. She's not trying to invalidate how someone feels. She's trying to justify to herself that it can't be true, and she's using the reason that, oh, they must be, you know, brainwashed or crazy or whatever, right? And a lot of times she does say that that's crazy. She doesn't always say you're crazy. She made the exception with Jefferson and called him crazy. He kidnapped her, so I'll give her that one. But a lot of times she says, do you realize how crazy that is? Or something like to that extent.
Yeah.
Where she is trying to convince herself she's talking to rational people who are not, mental patients. So like, you guys are rational. Like, why do you believe something so unbelievable is really what she keeps getting at.
Right. She
has beef with the story, not the people, I don't think. But those are really awesome points, all from different people. It's a circle of people looking at the same point in the center, right? And seeing it from every step you take around the circle, that center point is going to look different. It's going to have different things in front of it, different things behind it. It's going to have a different, whole holistic picture of the whole thing from that perspective. And I think they're all valid, which, as other people have said in the Discord before, that they like that we're doing this to this show, and they like that they found a community of people who like the show, because a lot of people wrote this show off as just like, a filler soap opera thing that was kind of rushed and not really taken a lot of care of. But there's a lot of heart. There's a lot of meat here, that complexity in these characters that I think doesn't get enough credit for how deep they either are written intentionally or can be interpreted from us.
Yeah.
Kind of looking at it. What do you think about that? I know you probably didn't like read those comments in depth, because that was a conversation that was sort of happening without us in the Discord. They were all talking to each other. For
it
the
was
most
fast.
Part,
I did read it before we got on here, and I agree with like all of it. Like, I can see all sides of it, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's crazier than magic for Emma to see all of this and not even like, she doesn't even waver from it. Like, she's literally like, no.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You know what I mean? There's no moment where she's like, whoa.
Like, maybe. There's no maybe. Yeah.
She was literally she heated up the turnover.
Yeah, she like didn't even think
that
about
point specifically blows my mind, because even if there is no such thing as magic, if really everyone in the town was crazy, this woman, framed Mary Margaret for murder.
Yeah, they have proof of that for the most part.
Why? And like, Emma has her own version of proof for that. You know what I mean? Like, she believes that was all Regina. She doesn't believe it was Sydney Glass at all. She thinks that confession was fake. So why would she trust her to make a baked good and it be okay?
Like,
I don't know. Even if it wasn't apple,
queen.
even if it literally was a peach cobbler, I still would be like, I'm not eating this because this woman framed somebody else for murder.
Yeah. She's the most
and she doesn't
untrustworthy
like
person
me.
in town. Yeah, and she already has. Yeah, you're right. And she already has a vendetta. It's like, why would you accept a gift from like, it would be like someone robbed your house and then they got caught, and then the police were like, all right, they got let go for whatever reason, and then that person showed up at your house and was like, peace offering, here's something for you to put in your body.
Right.
You'd be like, nah,
in the very best case scenario, Regina spit in that turnover.
Right. Or legitimately put some kind of poison or something to make you really sick.
Right, but
like
best case scenario.
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
She still didn't make it with good intentions.
Like, I have reservations about eating food that I sent back to a kitchen in a place where legally they're not allowed to.
I don't.
I do.
Because of that reason.
I do
I'm
too.
afraid.
Every time I do it, I'm always like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so like... And a lot of times it'll be like, hey, so my bad, maybe I ordered it too, like, can you just like put it on more because I want it? Like, I'm trying not to make it their fault.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just, and so a person who has something against you, it just feels like a no-brainer that you would at least be on your guard, which it very much seems like. Well, I don't know if it seems like she's not, because they did make her give a look, like a weird look to her, and then she was acting really weird when she was leaving the house. And then all of a sudden, and again, this is the evidence of the TV show just needs to move along, because they showed her skepticism in the house. She's like, here's an apple turnover. And Emma was like, And then
in the very next scene, she's in her kitchen.
She's in her kitchen just like chilling, and it's on the counter. And we don't know that she was necessarily going to eat it. It was kind of out of the thing. It wasn't in the garbage. Like, we know that she didn't just like toss it, but it was just on the table.
But she heated it up.
Did she? Because it was warm?
Yeah, it was on a plate.
I mean, yeah, it was. I thought it was on the plate it wasn't on a plate. You're right. It was in the Tupperware.
No, she put it in Tupperware.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, I love my mom. She is an incredible cook. That's what she does professionally. And sometimes I don't eat the stuff that she gives me. And I'm so sorry. Mom, Dad, if you're listening to this, please continue making me food.
No hard feelings.
Sometimes I just don't, I'll go in my fridge and I'll be like, oh shit, my mom made me something and I didn't eat it. So in the trash it goes. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I know we need to like suspend our disbelief and we need to understand that but Henry needed to eat this turnover.
Yeah.
Otherwise this episode that's coming up would have never happened.
That's all. I kind of want to look
That's just one of those TV writing things where I'm like,
I want to look this up. It's called, Deus Ex Machina. I believe this is what it's defined as an unexpected power or event saving a seamlessly hopeless situation, especially this is the part where people use this term, especially as a contrived plot device in a player novel, meaning the thing that saves the day is just because the day needs saving. There's no logic behind it. It's contrived in that there is no reasoning behind why this thing happened to be at the right place at the right time. So a lot of people use it to mean that it's almost the term act of God, that it's supposed to be this unexplained thing that has nothing to do with the specific positioning of the plot, and this character was in this place because they were put there by these other cause and effect things. It's just the random act that moves things along. And while this is not exactly the proper use for that, it just feels like the essence of we need Henry to be in crisis. We watched the promo last week, right? So Emma and Regina, the whole synopsis of this episode is Emma and Regina now are being forced to work together for a common problem. The only common problem they would possibly have that they would both care about is this kid.
Henry.
So they need to put the kid in crisis so that Emma and Regina would have to put aside their differences and figure it out together, which even without magic is a very good way to take two villains and give them a common enemy or a common problem that is dire, an emergency. And that's a very interesting dynamic to do something like a Suicide Squad type of plot mechanic, right? Where you take a bunch of criminals and turn them into quote unquote heroes because they, and that juxtaposition of they're supposed to be forwarding the bad part of the plot, but now all of a sudden they're good guys. That's really interesting to watch. And in the case of this thing, it's even deeper than that because it's not just that we need these two people who are fighting to now work together on a common goal, but Henry is trying to forward Emma's plot of being the savior by forcing her into a position where she quite literally has to save the day. And having Regina be a part of that is irrelevant. That's kind of more of a story thing. But within the world of Storybrooke, the character of Henry is this is the quintessential storybook character sacrifice that we saw in Charming, that we saw in Snow, that we saw in Catherine, that we've already seen in all these characters who took the sacrifice on themselves so that other people can do whatever they have to do. And if he really believes that she is the ultimate, that backing her, and we're going to see this further in the show too, backing a certain character is the way that everybody gets saved. That's going to be a motif that comes up not just with Emma, but with other characters later on, where we have to kind of, and you see this a lot with family, right? An older brother will sacrifice himself so that the younger brother can live. A dad. I just watched a Vertical Limit the other day with Chris O'Donnell, random movie. But the first scene of that movie, which sets up the entire movie, the very first scene, they're rock climbing, and Vertical Limit always came out in 1997, so I don't want anybody screaming at me about spoilers here. If you haven't seen it, just go watch it. It's fine. It's like a B movie anyway. They're rock climbing, and the dad is on the bottom, and they're in distress already, and they're gonna fall off this rock because something happened we don't know, and the dad has to cut himself loose. We see this in movies all the time where a character has to sacrifice himself so everybody you go on and continue the mission or whatever.
Okay, let's look at one of the most famous of those situations. The Lion King.
The Lion King. Yeah, good example. Yeah.
Hello. Rest in peace, Mufasa.
Right.
Gave up his life because of his piece of shit brother.
Right. Although in that case,
bitter,
he didn't
jealous
volunteer.
Brother. Funny how that works. 2 moms, and now it's 2 rulers. Look at these 2 moms.
That's true. That's
bitter
a good point.
ass Regina over here is
and for lack of a better analogy, they are fighting over ruling the kingdom of the child. In this case, they're the subjection of the child to them, and eventually that becomes Storybrooke, because there's the sheriff and mayor thing and that fight of power. You know, of course, there's she is technically the princess of all of the Enchanted Forest.
Yeah.
To the rightful queen of Snow White, or that at least that part of the kingdom, and Regina wants it to. So there's a lot of that kind of repeating fractal pattern, right? Of just like the small version of it and the medium version of it and the huge world version of it. It just keep repeating. And that's going to continue, which is really cool, because this whole land without, the title of this episode is A Land Without Magic. We already know this is being referred to as a land without magic. We already know that magic can exist here. It's just not a land where magic comes from. That was an interesting distinction in these last few episodes where we found out. Because we've
gone 20 episodes thinking you can't have magic.
You can't have it.
Here.
Yeah.
You can.
You can.
Jefferson proved us wrong.
Right. So now that kind of, it doesn't really change the rules. It just makes them a little bit more clear and a little bit more focused, which is nice, because that expands the so the restrictions on the world were a little bit Deus Ex Machina too, right? So they made it so that, well, Regina's handcuffed and Mr. Gold is handcuffed. They can't perform magic for the purposes of season 1, right?
You know what's interesting that I'm just thinking of right now is that magic can exist in Storybrooke. We've seen it now. Why does none of the items that Gold carries in the pawn shop still possess magic? His dagger.
Right. So yeah, it's because we're gonna talk about this.
Does it get into that?
Season. Oh yeah, because
sorry, I just didn't remember that, and now I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, why doesn't his dagger make him the Dark One right now? Because it should.
It's a great conversation, and so we've been talking about season 1. We've been dancing around spoilers, right? So and like not trying to give them up too much. You don't have to have seen this show. If you've seen any television or any movie, you know that even though there will be a cliffhanger still, because there always is at the end of a season finale, the whole point of a season finale is to tie up the main season's plot. This main season plot is we have to break the curse. Obviously, they will be successful. The cliffhanger will be about something else. That's just how television shows work. They have to break the curse, because then there'll be no rest of the show. They're not just going to loop that back in.
We can't live on this.
Yeah, we can't.
We can't
this
be
is
sustained.
Done. We have more stories to tell. So the curse will be broken. Don't forget, once the curse is broken, we have a bunch of magical characters that are going to be in
It's a shit show, okay? Like, imagine getting your life back after 30 years.
30 years, too. And the life that you're getting back is freaking mystical and magical, and you're in a completely different place. So this whole land without magic thing, they circle back on it a bunch of times, and they just like, they said magic can exist, and then they gave us Graham, and they were like, oh shoot, she brought something back. She brought back all these hearts. Then they were like, okay, also Jefferson. Oh, you can actually bring something back from the Enchanted Forest. It's like they keep expanding this world out. Eventually, they expand out the use of magic and what the curse told them. Like, it is a land without magic. That's true. That means that magic does not thrive in this land. It doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means a stronger source of magic has to happen. Do you remember when they were trying to do the hat and they were like, it's not enough magic. The magic exists in the items that Regina had. It doesn't just exist in the world. In the Enchanted Forest, magic just is a thing that they can pull from. It becomes a little bit esoteric, like the Force in Star Wars, right? It's just like kind of this invisible thing that just exists everywhere. Whereas in a land of magic, there has to be a catalyst. There has to be kind of a battery, something powering the magic. In the Enchanted Forest, it's just there. So once you get into like, well, what can we use to power? Gold starts to investigate some more, like, how can we use it? Like, other characters outside of story, but there's a lot of like the pieces of the world we haven't seen yet that start to investigate that the same way that you are. And we follow their journey too. So we do get into that eventually, because they have to write themselves out of a hole, because they've told every audience member all of season 1, this can't happen. So they have to write a rule to undo that, or else then they lied.
Yep.
So they have to make like they lied to you. Oh, it's this, but with conditions. You just didn't know what the conditions were yet. They have to kind of create a couple rules to work around that. But it's a really good question. And I'm sure people out there listening probably had the same question if they're analyzing it the way we are. Is like, how come it's okay here, but not here? It's really not because of bad writing. It's not because they are just doing it whenever they want. And a lot of people, while they were watching the show, said that. Oh, it's wishy-washy. Oh, it's convenient. I'm like, no, it's because you're watching little tiny snippets through binoculars of it. You're not seeing the whole world.
We don't
because
have the whole story yet.
They're waiting weeks and months to see every episode, and we're watching them bang, bang, bang after each other. You start to see, actually, this world they built does make a lot of sense. It is pretty cohesive. They just didn't have the advantage of binging it like we are. So yeah, that's a good conversation that we'll put a pin in, but we'll definitely, that might be maybe one of the maybe one of our bonus episodes. We can kind of talk about that, like magic as a subject and like how it's being used and how it evolves over time. So yeah, that's a good one. But thank you for the Discord for popping off like that. It wasn't like a super long conversation, but I love that everybody's writing like full paragraphs of like, here's what I think, here's why. They're like really bringing a lot of depth
this
to
is
the
what
table.
we wanted.
It really is.
And then before we jump out of our Storybook Daily Mirror, we have a new thing that we have mentioned a couple times now. It's still pretty new. Our Patreon. So our side project, not our side project. It's kind of our, think of it as an appendix to this podcast that you're listening to / watching now. We have 2 tiers. We're going to be doing a movie club where we do this exact same format, but we watch a movie. And that's not related to Once Upon a Time at all, just a movie of our choice. We already decided the first one we're going to do is Hamilton, but that we're going to start doing polls so that people can choose it. Marvel movies that are out now, old movies, whatever. And then we have another tier, a higher tier, that includes that first tier, but also includes a Lost exclusive podcast called Hatching Up with Lost, where we do this exact format, but with the Lost show that influenced the writing and style of this show. Same thing. We're going to get into characters, behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff. The first episode of which is already up there, but we're going to be ramping that up pretty soon and, break down the show just like this one. Yeah. So if you're interested in talking Lost or talking random movies, new and old, check out our Patreon. Join our friends, because we've had some friends join our Patreon, and I just wanted to take a minute to say hi and thank you publicly. Agent Leo, Amanda, Alicia, David, Melissa, Miranda, Jesse, Annika, and Natalie, thank you so much for joining us over on Patreon. We're so excited. We cannot wait to discuss Hamilton, Lost, Star Wars, Twilight, anything else that we can think of or you can think of that you are feeling strongly about that you want to hear us talk about.
Gossip Girl.
Come join us on the SBC Patreon.
The SBC Pod, patreon.com/the SBC Pod is where you can find that. We are... So those two things, those 2 tiers, that's the extra features of those 2 tiers. Both of those tiers also get any bonus content that we do related to Once Upon a Time. So all the extra stuff there, I've decided that we're going to do, like I mentioned, the pre-recording songs that we do. So I have them separate because I export those for a rainy day. So maybe we'll upload those so that you can hear how dumb we sound when we first turn the recording on of just us singing about random things. Or like random outtakes of things that happen. We have interruptions sometimes. Sometimes thunder rolls through while Isla's trying to record a podcast, and people
honestly, every single recording for the last 3 weeks, this is getting really old.
Yeah, it's been raining.
It's like Twilight over here. We're in Forks, Washington right now.
Welcome to the Northeast, huh?
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy.
And then I'm a space cadet. It just came into my brain. I'm going to spit it out now. We've done a thing.
Yeah. I don't know what this
we
is,
talked about it last week.
I
thought about it randomly on the air, how I want Stay Gold, Stay Rumple sticker.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
It has turned into so much more than that. First of all, thank you to everyone that really received that because sometimes these ideas are really silly and I don't know if they're a thing. But it sparked conversation after we were finished recording. We were just hanging out. Taryn joined us, Mackie's beautiful wife, and we were discussing the sticker that we thought was a really good idea. And Taryn was like, oh, wouldn't it be so funny if you could do a face tattoo like Post Malone that said Stay Gold, Stay Rumple? And I was like, oh my God, you know me so well. I would love a face tattoo. And it turned into, what if we made it a filter? So Mackie took a day and made us a Snapchat filter. It is so cool. It's in traditional tattoo font. Goes right on the face. It's temporary. You can just turn off the camera if you don't want to look at a face tattoo anymore. And I'm excited about it. And I think it's going to spark more social
interaction.
Yeah, more social. Think GIFs. Think, filters and all these things. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we're kind of expanding our enthusiasm for this. If you go back to our pilot episode, it really starts as us being like, I don't know, we like watching shows together and we're just going to talk about them together. And since we were going to talk about them together anyway, let's just push record and see what happens. And it really has turned into this spark of inspiration for us, because it's been so much fun to break this show down and to break it down with other people other than the two of us, to be able to hear their perspectives on it, how different those are from us. And so we have kind of a book club essentially of people who are all talking about the same stuff. And so now we've gotten really pumped to like, let's make more stuff. That's how the Patreon happened. People started asking like, why don't you do it for Lost? Why don't you do it for somebody asked for like, oh, it would be so cool if we did this but also for Captain America, like a Marvel movie, because we were talking about Marvel or Star Wars or whatever. And we're like, yeah, let's like straight Mystery Science 3000 this. Let's just keep going. And that turned into filters and this. So it's kind of expanding organically into something that we're just having fun with. And we hope that you guys are having fun too, because we can tell by your responses that you're enjoying yourself every time.
So if you want to be a little Snapchat filter guinea pig, hit us up. We have it. We're ready.
Yeah, I this is the first time I've ever done anything like this, so I don't totally know how it works. I have named it. It's called The Price of Gold. I don't think you can search it though by yourself. Like if you go to explore and you search it, it doesn't show up. But I do have a link that we can put on the Discord, and we can obviously send to anyone who messages us. If you DM us or text us at that phone number, we can send that link out, and it will automatically, if you have Snapchat uploaded on your phone and you click the link on your phone, it will automatically load that filter into your Snap, and then you can take pictures and save them and post them anywhere on the web. But it's the tattoo. It says "Stay Gold, Stay Rumple" on it. So that's kind of our thing.
Oh my gosh. What? Guys.
Does it show up now?
If you search The Price of Gold, it does come up.
Oh my God. That's really exciting. Is the preview working? Does it oh man. Okay, guys. I did a thing. This is the first time I've ever submitted a lens to Snapchat. That's kind of exciting. It's like we're official or something.
See?
Oh my God. Look at that. It works. Okay. So we want to see, what is the hashtag going to be? Hashtag the SBC pod. What is, like, if people post this, we have to give them like a thing so we can track it, right?
Yeah. Should
it just be Stay Gold, Stay Rumple? I feel like that's other things are going to be that. Or do people say that? I don't think that's a thing together, right? Let's just make it the
hashtag
SBC
Stay
pod.
Gold, Stay Rumple.
Stay Gold, Stay Rumple?
Stay
Okay.
Gold, Stay Rumple. Yeah. We're going to, if you know, you know it.
Oh, wow. All right. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. Okay, so hashtag Stay Gold, Stay Rumple. And feel free to tag the SBC pod or either one of our accounts in it if you post it on like Instagram or something like that.
No, don't feel free. Do it.
Please do it. No, you're required.
We're going to be aggressive.
That's part of the copyright. If you use the tattoo, you have to tag us. Actually, what you can feel free to do and are not obligated to do, unless Isla feels like being aggressive again, is when you put this picture up of this filter, tell people that our show is here so that we can have more friends that come in and listen to the show.
I'm not going to force you to do it.
All right, well, I'm telling them, hey, tell people about our show. That this is how.
Please, sir, promote our podcast.
I mean, listen, that is how we get this community to be bigger and get more conversations going, is to get more people involved.
Join the podcast.
The part of Oliver Twist will be played by Alice Sikorsky today. So yeah, I mean, when you post it, it's a good opportunity to be like, hey, this podcast I listened to is pretty cool. They made this filter. Or say
Spark
whatever
a
words
conversation.
you want. Yeah. See if any of your friends out there like Once Upon a Time or Goofy Face Tats or
Listen,
podcasts.
You post your Starbucks drink every day on your Instagram story.
This is true.
For free. Free advertisement.
Yeah. Starbucks
You're
don't need your money.
You paid like $7 for that grande.
Yeah. They don't need your advertising. We do.
It's free to shout us out, and we would love you so much for it.
Yeah.
Kisses. XOXO.
XOXO.
Love you so much.
So that ends our Storybrooke Daily Mirror 45-minute segment.
We turned our no submission segment to one of the longest things we've ever done.
Yeah, why not?
If you were wondering if we like to talk, the answer is no.
Never. You don't like it. Just like Loki. Don't like talking and are also liars. So the show pre-show. Let's talk about the season finale of season 1, Once Upon a Time. This is episode 22, A Land Without Magic. It claims that the character backstory is Prince Charming, but I would argue that the character backstory is everyone. May 13th, 2012 is when this aired. Written by OG Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz. There's no surprise there.
Oh, of course they showed up.
The showrunners are like, I got
parted
this.
the Red Seas for this. They were like, it is the finale. We're here.
Damn right. And directed by, guess who? Homeboy, Dean White.
The snow shipper.
The snow shipper.
Yeah.
The one responsible for the cutest
You know what I'm trying to say.
Hollywood couple ever. Dean
The
White
words.
comes back and I feel Dean White now feels like the senior director. That's not a real thing, but he feels like the guy that you call in when, you know, a lot of times the showrunner, if they have directorial credits, will do it. So like this is a really unfortunate name, but the guy who show ran The West Wing for the first really long, like first half of the show, his name is Tommy Schlamme. It's a ridiculous name. It feels like something in the 50s your like guy friends would name you because you're a jock or something.
He sounds like a greaser.
Yeah, he does. However, he is amazing. He's one of the best showrunners and directors.
He had the option to change that.
Well, his name is Thomas, but on set,
I know,
they colloquially call him Tommy Schlamme because
there was a way to
get around that. Yeah. But I bring this up because
you control your own destiny.
you can do this yourself, dude. Is because he directed the first couple episodes of season 1 and also I believe directed the season finale and a couple season finales. He would come back in and direct them every once in a while, even though he was like the executive producer and showrunner. So like the guys who are responsible for kind of setting the pace and the feel, they'll sometimes come in and get their hands dirty, which I really like. And I don't know what Dean White's involvement is, and I'm going to write that down for one of our like bonus things. Is I'm going to look up a little bit because Dean White has come up so much and he's been so important to our narrative that I want to see if there's some background between him and JJ or Edward and Adam or something that they have history or they've worked together on previous projects. I think we've dabbled in it before, but I kind of want to look again because clearly he's important. So our ratings bump for the season finale. I expected it to be higher, but it ends up at 9.66 million. I wanted it to go over 10. I really did, because this is very exciting. But it's at a weird time, 2012, whatever, May 2012. So I don't really remember what was going on in current events at that time. Should we do like a this day in Once Upon a Time history and be like, in 2012, here was the news and here was the... Would that be interesting?
I feel like 2012 was a wild year. That's also the end of the school year, which I feel as though the show... A lot of high schoolers must have watched, nerdy theater kids like ourselves.
Yeah, I buy that.
Prom, graduation, wrapping up the year. This is probably a hard time to get people to sit down on a Sunday night and watch a TV show.
Yeah, May is crazy.
2012. I'm trying to think. I was still in high school. So, like, what was Coney?
It hurts so much. That's my brain.
2012 and Coney. That was the big thing then.
Oh man,
that's the year Bar graduated.
Maybe we should. Maybe let's look into that for season 2. Maybe we can do a this day in history. Okay, guys, I know 2012. I mean, 10 years ago was not 30 years ago, but it's still 10 years ago. Like that's a big.
What day did this release?
May 13th, 2012.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes current events.
The first thing I see is a very sad thing. So.
What was it?
Something about Syria bombing children.
Oh yeah. There was a lot of things.
But that was May
on.
26th.
There was a lot of Syria action though going on because I remember actually now that I recall that was the year.
Whole thing.
I went to Egypt that summer when all that was going on. Now Syria and Egypt are not exactly next to each other, and the tourist areas in Egypt are very much like along the coast and stuff, and all that stuff was happening somewhere else. But I was like, that's just a little too close for me. So I was a little nervous about it.
It was 2012 was a pretty rough year in terms of like political worldly things.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we'll do that in season 2. We can talk about any like big current events because there's things like, the writer strike happened. That was early 2000s, right? During Lost, I believe it. What was it, 2003 or 4 or something like that? So we can talk about like things that were going on in the culture, in the, music. I think that would shape where we were when we were watching it. Even, I mean, 10 years is a pretty long time still. Like, you know, like some of us were still in school. Like, you know, my life was completely different 10 years ago. And like where I was in my head while I was watching this, it might inform a little bit about how we interpret the plot from the first time that we watched it, for those of us who watched it live. Even though I didn't watch it live, but like what it would have been, you know. Okay, so the synopsis for the season finale. Emma and Regina, they team together in order to find a way to save Henry's life. Meanwhile, in the fairy tale land, Prince Charming attempts to escape from the evil queen's clutches in order to reunite with Snow White, who, unbeknownst to him, has already taken a bite of the queen's poison apple.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, now we get into production notes. So here's the deal with production notes this time. We're going to do a special episode right now. The production notes and What's in the Hatch, they both get into, obviously, the season finale is chock full of references to the entire season, to every little thing that we thought should have been a connection. They bring a lot of those things back. Not all of them, but they definitely allude to a lot of, as season finales do, allude to a lot of things that happened right at the beginning of the season. In this case, with season 1, right at the beginning of the show ever, first few episodes of the show's life, because they're trying to glue everything together. Unfortunately, what that means is a lot of these production notes are heavy spoilers just to the end of this episode. And because from the beginning to the end of this episode, they're going to be doing nothing but like tying up loose ends, that we don't want to give away what those loose ends end up getting tied to. So we are going to split up the production notes and the What's in the Hatch, and we're going to save all of the spoiler ones for after the watch party, so that we can actually watch it for real the first time through, and then talk about the reference some of the things that we didn't want to give away in the beginning. Like, that's how good this is. In case you were wondering how good this episode's going to be, like, we don't even want to talk about moments in the production notes so that you will get to see if, first of all, you can pick up on them on your own, or, you know, just like not have those moments forecasted for you so that you don't see them coming. So we are going to talk about a couple of production notes that don't really matter, that are kind of our normal stuff, right? Just little things and references that won't mess anything up. So we'll get into it. The first one is the title card features a cloud of magic. It's either the dark curse or the magic that has been brought by Mr. Gold. So I think the dark curse, the cloud, this magic thing, you know, we've had these instances of magic kind of seeping into Storybrooke. All of this stuff. Black smoke. I mean, right? Yeah, very, very black smoky, which I kind of like that. I would almost call that a reference.
I would give that a hatch.
A little bit, just a little boop. So I like the idea, and the funny that you bring that up, as this cloud of magic as a character, right? And we would never spoil anything on this show fully for like current events. But for those of you who've seen Loki, y'all know what I'm talking about, right? Characters as these like abstract, Dylan and I haven't talked about it yet, but abstract things, kind of not spiritual, but, you know, not formed, right? Something tangible, something a little bit more like a person or an animal or some like antagonist. This like, because in Lost we have the black smoke, is like, it has motivation. I think that's the idea, is that it's this abstract thing that is chasing you, right? That is actively, so it has some kind of reason that it wants to do that, or some kind of purpose that it's trying to fulfill. So the dark curse is not quite as I would call sentient as the black smoke in Lost. It's not like moving with purpose and attacking specific people and having this motivation and stuff, but it does give that air of like the dark curse as a character, a little bit of a nod to that, you know, of like, we should be following like how this thing affects everything, right? And swallows everything up whole. According to this is the first title card not to be accompanied by the usual opening music. I don't know what that means because we haven't watched the episode yet, but that'll be interesting to just see, like, is it blank? Is it over? I had a lot of like curled up eyebrows about this. I was like, weird. What does that mean? And are they going to do that again? Is this like a really powerful thing they're trying to like hit you with season 1?
Okay. Cool. Interesting.
Hidden details. Henry is in the hospital room R242. Which doesn't mean anything, but it is the same one that Catherine stayed in during the return. And there's another note about this room being used in a future episode as well, but we're not.
Isn't that the same room that David's in?
I believe when she was in there, they talked about her being, I don't know if it's the same room, but it's the same section of the hospital, but it might be the same room as well. So it might just be the one room that they just keep putting these people in because it's a small town.
I would think so, right?
Yeah. During the filming of the brief fight scene between Emma and Regina. Not a spoiler because we saw that in the promo of last week if you went and watched that.
Also, I really don't think Regina and Emma fighting is a spoiler.
Also, yeah, they've been trying to fight
every episode, okay?
Jennifer Morrison and Lana Parrilla both suffered bruises from the way they slammed each other into the walls. Do you recall, I don't know the name of the episode. I love doing these because we keep saying the titles of the episode, so I like feeling like the if you know thing of like calling an episode name out and being like, remember in Skin Deep when blah, 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 you know? I don't remember the name of this one, but it's the Graham episode, right? Where they have a fight. They have a physical altercation in the graveyard. So this is not even the first time they fought together. And I believe if we go back and listen, I'm pretty sure they got hurt during that one too. Because I remember that production note that they somebody got a sprained wrist or something happened. I remember there was a lot of snow stuff, but like, I think one of them got hurt because they were pushing too hard. Which I was talking to Isla about this before we started recording. There was some speculation that they didn't like each other in real life back then when they were taping. All of those things turned out to not be true from what I understand. And I'm sure the Discord will correct me if I am wrong. But there was a lot of like fans got really excited about the show. So they just started like retconning real life and like making up what they thought real life was based on tabloids and what they see on social media and whatever. And I do remember that. I remember there being a little bit of gossip that like, you know, it would be juicy tea that the woman who plays the queen and the woman who plays Emma are mortal enemies and they really don't like each other. It's very high school. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe that. It's just people wanting their characters to be their real life and they hate it when they're not. They're the opposite of their characters. I'm pretty sure that was debunked as them. That just was happenstance and they never like said specifically no, but it's just goes to show how much these fans really care about it, that they start to write their own stories about real life. They don't know when to stop, you know, the fantasy part of it. It's kind of wild and a little bit scary. In the no, we're not going to skip those. Sorry, when the I was like, why is this yellow? Oh yeah. Hidden details. When the curse is broken, we already know the curse is going to be broken, but when the curse is broken, there is a view of Storybrooke that they're going to show. That view is the same view that is viewed from Jefferson's house in the Hat Trick episode. So they actually reuse that plate, which is, I believe, as I recall, we commented on how pretty that was. And I think it could be symbolism. It could be part reusing graphics that they've already paid for. I kind of want to see if we can justify if it's a story reason why it would be that same view, or if that view is important for some reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like where it is or whatever. Rumpelstiltskin, these are just some kind of notes. They're episode connections technically, but because usually I skip episode connections because they're always talking about episodes in the future. But because of the season finale, a lot of the episode connections are references to old episodes, so that we can talk about them in this case. Rumpelstiltskin wears the cloak that Prince Charming gave him during the Heart of Darkness episode. So we'll see if we can point that out when we see it. The origin of the marionettes, obviously in the pawn shop, we talk about that in That's Still Small Voice. So the marionettes, I guess, are going to be talked about.
Shout out to Geppetto's parents.
Shout out. Pour one out for your homies. Do we need didn't we talk about this? We needed a pour sound, like of something of like filling a cup or something for when Graham died.
Pouring one out for your lost one. Daddy Regina, rest in peace.
Daddy
Love
Regina.
Him.
Rumpelstiltskin mentions Belle's death. Rumpelstiltskin and Enchanted Forest, right?
I just had an idea.
Oh, what? Tell me. Or is it an off? Is it an off-air idea?
We should do like an in memoriam
section.
Everyone that dies.
Oh, like an obituary? Season. That's a great idea. Like a season. Do you want to do a season wrap up
this is real dark. But like on like the Oscars. Like,
oh yeah. They do the ones we've lost this year.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay, we're doing that.
We should do that for every end of season.
I love that. We are definitely
like at the Hunger Games when they.
Oh my God! Can we do it with the Hunger Games sound effect, the cannon? Guys, live on the air. This is how we make the show. We make the show live. This is how we do it. That's amazing. Oh my God!
Why are you so funny?
I love this.
It's the trauma.
It's the trauma. Rumpelstiltskin mentions Belle's death which is a lie the evil queen told him in Skin Deep. The very last 5 seconds of Skin Deep, we see where I don't remember where it is, but she oh no, I'm sorry, it wasn't Storybook. It was, she had told Rumple that she jumped off a tower or something like that. And then we see her show up in the whatever. The
Psych ward.
No, not the psych ward.
In the Enchanted Forest.
We see the girl, unnamed girl in the psych ward in Storybrooke. So we know that she exists, but we see in like not a diner, it's Enchanted Forest, in like an inn or whatever, talking with Dreamy. Dreamy comes after that, and she is very much not dead. The evil queen is just like pulling his strings to try and make him crazy. But he mentions that in continuity of like, that was the last thing he was told from the evil queen. So he doesn't know yet, I think is what they're just trying to tell us.
Okay.
Use it again. Let's see. One of the items that Emma dumps out of Henry's backpack is the Space Paranoids game that Regina gave him in What Happened to Frederick, when it's all on the wrists, right? From Tron. Here's a good pause and read. According to the monitor screen over Henry's hospital bed, this is another thing with John Doe. Right? Remember when we saw David when he was a John Doe and the date was wrong because, okay, so at the time that they taped season 1, they hadn't established when season 1 took place. It was just current day, present day. But just like they did with Lost, where the plane crash was supposed to happen on the day of the actual premiere in real life, was the day in the story. The date that Emma comes to town is the date of the premiere, October, I already forgot, 12th, I think October 12th or 23rd, October 23rd, 2012 is what it was. Lost numbers also.
2011.
2011, I'm sorry, 2011. And that doesn't get established until, it says here, season 2. There's an episode called In the Name of the Brother, where, oh, I'm sorry. Is that wrong? No, sorry. Season 2 episode name is Selfless, Brave, and True. That establishes that the pilot episode takes place on October 23rd, 2011. So if that's true, that means that the date of John Doe's monitor up there, it had the date and the time, and then the date was wrong. They did the exact same thing when Henry's in the hospital, which just tells me
really?
I think they just like left the date on that instrument or whatever. So according to the monitor, his condition worsens at 1:46. We saw that in the promo, no surprise. The date, however, is incorrect. It says November 8th, 2010 is what's listed.
Oh.
Because they did not establish that this was until a few episodes further, they're going to start to pinpoint exactly what was going on, exactly what time, and they retconned a little bit of what was going on in season 1. That's not written yet at the time of the season. So they just put whatever date they wanted on that screen because who cares? But then it creates little tiny goofs like this that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things because in the rewatch, it does line up. This is today's date and they're going forward because 3-4 episodes in, they're like, okay, a few months goes by and it goes off track. It's not like we stay with them in real time every day. It says this is not the only time a screen hospital, this is what they're referring to. This is not the only time a screen hospital has shown the wrong date. In Snow Falls, the date on the monitor over John Doe's bed says November 9th, 2006. Oh, wait. Actually, I can't tell how this is written because it says 10 November 08. So is that November 10th, 2008? Or is it November 8th, 2010? Because then this one is 06 November 09. This is the problem with the early 2000s. You really don't know like which days
no
are.
idea.
So that could be 2006
Either way,
November 9th,
wrong.
but way, way wrong. And apparently the screen also describes the patient as an adult. And Henry is very much like 13 or 12 or 11 or whatever. Let's see. A poster. Oh, I love this one. A poster pinned to the wall inside the library contains an illustration of Titania and Nick Bottom, who are two characters from the Shakespeare play A Midsummer Night's Dream. The same poster is on a billboard outside the town hall in Desperate Souls. That probably doesn't matter unless you understand what A Midsummer Night's Dream is about. It's an excellent prop department little hidden Easter egg. For those of you who are familiar with Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, A Midsummer Night's Dream ends with characters waking up from a dream sequence in which all of the characters, there's two pairs of people, and it's unrequited love. Like they're trying to get each other, and in the they are chasing around, and they are real people, and there are the nymphs and fairies, right, that are messing around with them for fun, and so they put them to sleep and then confuse them. And like, I'm sorry, they don't put them to sleep. They confuse them, and then when they finally have to undo all of this stuff, they convince them that it was a dream. They like put them to sleep and go, "Well, you were just dreaming," but they were like really messing around with them in the forest. So they combine the two couples together and have the guy pine for the other girl. So it's just like this mixed match. So they're kind of going for each other's significant other. So the nymphs and stuff are giving them love potions. So they breathe love potions on them and make them fall in love with the opposite partner on the opposite side, and it's all this confusion because they thought it was fun. But the end of that show ends with them waking up from the dream and then delivering the two couples watch this troupe of theater, people in the town who are putting on a play for the king and queen. The two couples belong to the court. They're like royalty, right? And so the lowly group of these like traveling theater people come into the kingdom and show them a play. The play is in very meta form supposed to be what we as the audience all just watched, is them as a dream mixing everything up.
Wow.
But if you think about how that ties into Once Upon a Time, if this is the season finale and the curse is about to be broken and they're all going to wake up from this dream and realize that they're all fairy tale characters, Posters of A Midsummer Night's Dream is a brilliant connection to this very kind of understated motif that's going on with everybody.
If you know, you know.
Oh yeah, like a really heavy literary reference like that. And there's actually, we're going to talk about it later, but there's two characters in this episode that are also this. You would have thought this was written by Jane Espenson, right? But don't forget, she's a head creative in this, so this does feel like her influence of these like literary references. There's two characters in this episode that are not fairy tale characters. They are two characters from a book, from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Which the title of that book is only a spoiler if you actually read the book, which I didn't. I had to look it up. But if you know anything about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you'll recognize it right away. In fact, they have the exact same character names as the characters in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Not even like an illusion. It was like, no, these are the characters. They actually even play the same characters in Storybrooke that they do in the book. It's the same. They act the same way. They basically perform the same function.
Wow.
I was like, that is a connection and a half. That's a real, So there's a lot of if you know, you know in this episode, which I kind of really, really like.
Right.
And as a Shakespeare reference, I'm like, that's just so. Titania and Nick Bottom. Titania is the head fairy. Nick Bottom is the outspoken theater person. He's the lead actor in the theater troupe. And so she basically turned the whole thing about that show. The most famous thing about that show is she turns him into, she puts a donkey head on him, replaces his head with a donkey head. And so he's like, acting out his lines, and he goes back to the theater troupe and he has a full donkey head on, and they're freaked out and they run away. And he's like, why is everyone running? And he's like trying to figure out what's going on. The fairies are just fucking with them. That's like kind of the whole point. But that's the most famous thing, because every time you put this play on, you have to figure out how to get a donkey head on a guy. Because that's like part of the plot. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's actually a really wild. So there was a very famous movie version of this.
Yes.
Mickey
the only
Rooney.
reason I know it is because Stanley Tucci is in it.
Oh, that's
and I
okay.
I love Stanley Tucci.
That is a fantastic remake of the original. The original is in black and white, way before any of us were born. But no, the Stanley Tucci, I did forget that they remade it in like modern day. But Mickey Rooney,
will watch literally anything that he's in. If he's narrating something about grass growing, I'm like,
God, I
love Stanley Tucci more than anything.
So much.
So
we need to make one of his movies, the movie club one, like what's Easy A or something like that. I don't know. We'll find a good
Easy
Stanley
A,
Tucci
The
one.
Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, he's just, or even Birdcage.
The Hunger Games.
Hunger Games. Jeez.
La La. Is he in La La Land?
I didn't see La La Land yet. Maybe we can do that one. But the black and white version,
love him.
Mickey Rooney plays the lead mischievous fairy, Puck. And then the only other real person of note in it, I mean, there are some very, very, very old, like 20s and 30s actors, right? This was done a long time ago. Was, if you're familiar with The Great Movie Ride, right? During the gangster scene, right before the gangster scene, they talk about famous actors during that time. We're talking just after Casablanca and all that stuff, right? James Cagney is this classic gangster guy. He's the one who came up with this, like, yeah, see? He's the one who came up with that archetype, that voice, that all of that Dick Tracy kind of stuff. He's responsible for it. And they show, if you remember, this is really kind of very specific on Great Movie Ride in Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World. When you come around the corner to that gangster stuff, if you look on the right, the narrator's talking specifically about James Cagney and gangster movies, and there's a big animatronic of him with a pinstripe suit and a Tommy gun with a cigarette in his mouth, standing in like a doorway, like hiding from someone. James Cagney plays this guy Nick Bottom, who becomes the Donkey Head, and has this very famous interpretation of that role, where he does all these really big physicality things, and like everybody who does that show kind of tries to emulate his very specific style. He is like the acting version of the way that Gene Kelly and, you know, those guys were for dance. He was that for acting. So everybody was always trying to emulate him. So James Cagney was Nick Bottom, and Titania was some random person. And then Mickey Rooney, if you know about Mickey Rooney from old acting days, he was in it too. But the Stanley Tucci one is pretty good. That would actually be a good one to pull in, because that was actually a really good movie. So anyway, one last goof for production notes. Regina cries while clutching Henry's bed pillow. And then the next scene, the pillow's gone. I don't know if that's I'm assuming that's in the hospital, or I don't know if it's in the bed at home or whatever. But that is production notes. Part one. Yeah, there's more. And for the What's in the Hatch, where we talk about our lost Easter eggs, we're only going to talk about, one, it's actually two that are combined. And the other ones we're going to talk about later, because we don't want to give anything away. As Emma dumps out Henry's backpack, an Apollo bar, and a Geronimo Jackson audio cassette fall out. So both the like proppy lost things that we've been seeing is the Apollo bar and the Geronimo Jackson like t-shirts they've established.
Where's the Drive Shaft merch?
I'm so mad. Somebody posted a Drive Shaft shirt in the Discord. Did you see that? Which makes me so happy.
You all everybody.
Apparently the cover artwork on the cassette is from a very specific single from Geronimo Jackson that is called out in Lost, called Dharma Lady, which I love so much. These like little hidden things. But yeah, Apollo bar and Geronimo Jackson fall out of his backpack. So clearly he is in the same timeline as Lost, obviously.
Yes.
The plane is crashed right now on the island while they're... Oh, I guess they're done, because this is 2012. So this is years after... The first episode just started with years after the Oceanic 815
Which is
incident.
even crazier that they saw an Oceanic flight...
I know.
Fly over. It's like that airline should not be in business.
I was gonna
anymore.
say, you assume they went bankrupt, right? Like 2012, they're done. They're the TWA of airlines in 2012.
Right.
Like that's gone. It's done for. Oh, TWA, I miss them. So now we're gonna watch the show. We're gonna watch the show, and then we're gonna come back to all the production notes that we have missed. So as always, we're gonna talk about a few features of our watch party. The first is a drinking game bell that we have. So we're gonna play a little drinking game while we watch. That consists of a bunch of random rules that we basically make up while we watch the show, but we do have some standing ones that we like. Magic apples, not magic apples, but the two words of magic and apple. When people, we already know that they're going to fight. I mean, that's a big drink, because we usually, when people square off like verbally and they kind of try and
good square offs.
Yeah, good square offs. Yeah, but they're going to fight. And their last fight was real dope. So I'm kind of excited. So anytime you hear the bell, go ahead and drink a beverage of your choice. You know, water, tea, an adult beverage if you are of age, please.
Hot and spicy Cheez-It.
Hot and spicy Cheez-Its was a big hit last week. That was good. So we can, we're going to start making the drinking game. Put something in your mouth and whatever it is that you want. It's fine. Snack, sweet tarts, whatever. Mine was sweet tarts a couple weeks ago. So we also have, this is a drink clink, kind of a toast, I suppose. And clink your two bottles together or cups together. And that's just a reference to anything that we've talked about so far. If we're just kind of pointing out, oh, that's that little thing that we said, we're looking out for Apollo bars, etc. Well, not Apollo bars, because that's Lost. Speaking of Lost, when we do see the Lost things, if I can point them out, I will play the Lost sound. No action necessary, just to point it out. And last but not least, we have this. Well, not last. Actually, we have two last things. This sound is, That sound is for, it actually worked. As me playing and pausing the show, I actually just turned it on by accident. So if you are watching alongside us and syncing the video, then that will indicate that I have pushed play or pause, and I will try and resync us together so that we can watch it together. Also, if we need to go back for any reason and reanalyze something, we have enlisted the help of a friend. Oh, nope.
It's rewind time.
He was just a little sleepy today. We had to poke him, wake him up.
Silly Will.
Silly Will Smith has lent his voice to our show and is indicating to you that we're going to rewind and do a little bit more investigating and see what's going on. Sometimes we got to go back and watch things twice, or sometimes we just want to because they're fun. So if you hear that sound, then know that we're rewinding. I don't know. It was just fun because I want to hear Will Smith say it's rewind time. That's literally all that happened there. You'll be very excited to hear that this time the major drink moment of the episode title's reference actually contains the name of the episode this time.
Oh, thank God, it makes sense.
About this
for the first time in months.
For a couple episodes, they were just like, yeah, kind of. So this one is we're in a land without magic, Belle, and I'm bringing it. And this is the tagline for the entire season 1. Magic is coming. So that's a Rumple quote that we're going to be listening for. I wanted to do a little something this time before we actually watch the show. I would like to watch a 2-minute promo, which is the promo for season 1, technically episode 1, but it's really a season long promo to see in 2011 what this is actually, believe it or not, according to this was uploaded May 18th, 2011. So this is the actual upload of the real premiere that year, before October when it aired, to see what they were angling us towards. What are they trying to get us to be hyped about so that we can then watch the episode and see how it ties up. So here we go. Series premiere, ABC promo for Once Upon a Time. It's a lot of music, not a lot of talking, so we'll narrate. Welcome to Storybrooke. Looks like a normal town, right? White picket fences.
The bug is just traveling through the small town.
Yeah.
I'd like a room. What's the name? Swan. Emma Swan.
Emma Swan.
Emma. What a lovely name.
No.
Thanks.
We love that moment.
Welcome to Storybrooke from the writers of Lost.
She sent everyone from the Enchanted Forest here.
Then why does everybody just leave?
They can't. If they try, bad things happen.
It has begun.
So, a lot of imagery here, right? There are two sides.
Sorry, I'm late. How would you like a glass of the best apple cider you ever tasted?
There it is. To every story.
Why did you do this?
Because this is my happy ending.
Believing in even the possibility of a happy ending is a very powerful thing.
He doesn't know.
That he's a fairy tale character.
None of them do. They don't remember who they are.
Everything we love will be ripped from us while we suffer for all eternity. No more happy endings.
Oh, no more happy endings.
Every story in this book actually happened. You should know more than anyone.
I love this.
What's that?
Because you're in this book.
That delivery from him, he didn't throw it away. It was really powerful.
Where are we going? Somewhere horrible.
You got that right, sister.
I will destroy you if it is the last thing I do.
Oh!
Enjoy your stay.
I love it. Emma.
Okay.
It didn't even have the proper titling yet. Like this Once Upon a Time title card is not even close to what we see now. The graphic wasn't even ready. This premiere, I mean, imagine seeing that on TV in 2011. Like, I would be so pumped.
Count down.
Yeah. Like this, and it did. They got a really great response at the onset, but the story, the soap opera-ness of it kind of loses people. But man, it really feels strong. And I think we've established that it pretty much has held up to its side of the bargain here, I believe.
Yeah, it did. All of those things were not taken out of context in a way that would hype it up more than it needed to be, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So without further ado, that was where we were. It's where we started. It's what they promised. And so now we get to watch episode 22, the season finale of season 1, Once Upon a Time, A Land Without Magic. Let's do this.